Here I am, just a man, just a child I used to be. I see you in your chair, same book you used to read. Play these strings till my fingers are worn, same way you said to me. Don't know till it's all gone, same song it's always been. That was a song I wrote mm, 15 years ago or so, something like that. My dad would be 69 years old today. He died in 2005. So he was born October 30th of 1950. And so this show's not going to be like a depressing kind of a thing. I don't think. I really don't have much planned out except for what I just did, what I just said. But the the day after my dad died, I was training with some friends in martial arts at my house, and when we were done, we don't usually have a couple beers and we have a little smoke or something, and we were outside talking. They were about to leave, and there was this bird on my fence that just kept demanding my attention. It was just sitting on the fence and was trying to pay attention to what my friends were saying and talk to them. And I kept looking over at this bird. I finally asked I was like, "What kind of bird is that?" And my buddy Mike said, "That's a woodpecker." I'm like, oh, well, my dad's favorite birds were woodpeckers, and we'd be down like in the hills of southern Indiana, Brown County State Park, Hoosier National Forest, Yellowwood State Park, all these different places. And he could see the woodpeckers from far away. And he would try to point them out to me from the time I was a real little kid. And I just could never see them. And, I don't even know if I could hear him when he heard them, and he was trying to point them out to me. And that went on and on. So we were going out to the woods since since not too long before he died. Um, and yeah, it was the same kind of thing. And then so the day after he died, the woodpecker shows up on my fence. I didn't even know what it was. It turned out to be a red-bellied woodpecker. His favorites were the pileated, but he liked all of them. Pileated, like the big ones, real big ones. And I ended up losing my job the day after my dad's funeral. And um, I remember I was like leaving work, and I went and I picked up a bottle of whiskey, and I was getting a UFC DVD. And my sister called me, see how I was doing. I was like, oh, well, I just got fired, right? Well, laid off more like. And she's like, holy shit. And she's like, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I just got a bottle of whiskey and I'm picking out a UFC DVD. That was my big plan. Drink and watch some fights. But losing my job, I got an unemployment, and it gave me time to, well, what I ended up doing was I got super into birds. And I lived in like northern part of Broad Ripple here in Indianapolis. It's like the north side of Indianapolis, and there was this big, really big. I believe it was a white pine tree, real soft needles, real tall. And I started getting a bunch of bird food. And I was getting like the woodpecker suet. I'd smear like peanut butter on the tree, and that tree became like a grand central station for woodpeckers and all kinds of birds, really. And I got a book, and all day I would just sit and I would see who's coming at all kinds of woodpeckers, the pileated woodpeckers, red bellies, the flickers, downy woodpeckers, and just everything that's around here was coming to that tree, and all sorts of other cool birds. And then I became the one that can see the woodpeckers from far away. So now I'd be down in the woods with my kids, and I'd see just like a little glimpse real far away. Like, oh, woodpecker. I had a woodpecker, a pileated woodpecker uh, phone ringer. What's it called? Ringtone. And I was out in the woods with my son and my girlfriend at the time, and I saw woodpecker, and I started playing my ringtone, and and then the real woodpecker was calling back, and I don't know quite what they were saying, but it was like, "Hey, I'm a woodpecker. Cool, I'm a woodpecker too." Something like that. I don't know. I would just think it was something like that. So I was just saying, like the day after my dad died, I had friends over training martial arts. Well, today's his birthday, and I just got home a little bit ago from training martial arts with friends, different friends, and I didn't tell them it was his birthday or anything like that. It'd been, I think, at least a month since we were training. Like one friend was moving, and um, another friend's work schedule was changing, and it changes around a bit. And so it'd been a little while since we got together, and we just had about an hour. Um, but it was fun. Good to get back at it and do it. I like to do so much. I like training with friends in martial arts. My dad, he say like maybe he was kind of one of these people that had a black cloud following him around. And I know a lot of times we make our own luck with the decisions that we make, but sometimes I think some tough breaks make us make decisions sometimes that we wouldn't make if we're not getting tough breaks. You know, like I was just talking the other day, I mentioned I had the catalytic converter stolen off of my Cherokee. And I've had rough times, but I never stole anybody's catalytic converter or anything. But maybe whoever stole my catalytic converter, I don't know what kind of situation do you have to be in for that. Yeah, there was a lot of times. Maybe I shouldn't say a lot. There were times when he didn't always have a house. Pretty much lived out in the woods, and so we'd, even if it was wintertime, we'd be out camping, and I never really. It was almost just like a normal thing. It wasn't like, oh, poor dad, he's homeless. It wasn't like that. It was more like, I guess when you're 9, 10 years old, you don't really think like that. Maybe because it wasn't put in my head to think of it like that. Because it wasn't really all that long ago where everybody was that level of homeless. There wasn't like a house with a fancy deadbolt. There was no such thing. But when we were out, and I guess I was learning about being out in nature, just being like this. It was just normal. It's a normal thing. Every weekend, we're at some big forest somewhere. And it wasn't like he was teaching me all about the plants and the trees and the animals. I guess he was trying to show me some with the birds, and it was like a different kind of thing. This is hard to explain, but it just became normal to run through the woods, run the hills, and we'd be like running down the path, and we'd be like looking around, which hill's bigger, that one or that one? That one. Okay, we'll run up that one. And so we would just run up the steepest, tallest hills we could find. And then our dog would be like up and down, going all around, and showing us how it's done at the elite level. And just picking up biggest rocks, pushing over dead trees and kicking them over, and walking real far all day, just exploring. So for most of the time, there was no uh, video games or TV. Sometimes there was, but there were times when there wasn't. And I don't remember ever wishing I was playing a video game instead. Yeah, I'd say he had some tough breaks, and sometimes people. It seems like that's just the way some people have it. So it's just the way it is. Not everybody's equal. Not everybody gets. Life's not fair. We start to learn that as real little kids, don't we? But I remember I had this when I was driving a cab. I had a client. She was almost blind. She was like legally blind and almost like really completely, literally blind. And she had a son that had, I'm not sure exactly what, but he had like some brain surgeries and he wasn't quite, maybe he'd have a job at like Goodwill or something that was, not too complicated, I guess. And she said, he was kind of like that. The family would go out to dinner, and they were really well off. They had um, she used to be a teacher, and then her husband made a lot of money with, I think it was, I don't know if it was just insurance or what all they had going on, but they had a lot. Uh, and he said that when they would go out to eat as a family, they'd always get that kid's order. He was a man when I knew him, but they would always get his order wrong. Everybody else's their order would be right. And his name was Kevin, the one with the brain surgeries, and he like was riding a moped to work, got in a wreck, and it was just like, she said that like the other kids, they seem to like just pretty much like get through life. They it's like go to school, they try to do something, and that's what ends up happening. And then, but like Kevin, it was like they go out to dinner, he can't even get the meal he ordered. Everybody else, they order something, and then that's what ends up in front of them. But not Kevin. He orders something, they bring him something else. And that's just the way life is for some people, isn't it? It's just the way it is. You think there's a spiritual benefit to that? You think like people that get through this realm pretty easily, like, are they missing something? One of my favorite kinds of music is the blues. You think if everything was going right, anybody would have written a blues song? But the blues is a healer. It's like John Lee Hooker, one of my favorite bluesmen. He has that song, "Blues is a healer, a healer." And he just repeats that over and over again. I think Santana was on that, one of the cuts of that song. Blues is a healer. It'll heal me. It'll heal you. It's like all this bad luck. World just not treating you right. And this beautiful, powerful, transformative music comes out of it. Some people just have that black cloud, don't they? And then they never really get out of themselves what they want. And I think that's why, a lot of maybe dads, like they want their son to do well in sports, or, like, oh, my son's a quarterback, or my son's uh, get him into baseball real early and specialize in it, and he's going to be a pro. Really? 6-year-old, you're counting on him being a professional baseball player, huh? Okay. Maybe. It worked for Tiger Woods, right? But like Peyton Manning. I remember seeing like this home video of him when he must have been 5 or something like that, wearing this helmet that's too big, and his dad was a football player, and so has all these big pads, and like the reporter or whatever was there, and he's like, "Are you going to be a football player like your dad?" He's like, "Uh-huh." Well, 5 years old with his helmet covered all down over his face and wider than his shoulders, and yeah, yeah, I'm going to be a football player too. And then, of course, he did. My dad, like when I was pretty young, I was a huge Michael Jordan fan, and I had a good buddy, Jonathan. He was real into Michael Jordan too. Of course, we're talking. I was 10 years old, so we're like 1989. Probably a little bit before then, and then after then, this lasted several years. Um, but playing basketball, pretending to be Michael Jordan, dunking on the lowered goal. I would tell my dad I wanted to be a professional basketball player, and he would take me out and play. We would play basketball. And when I tell him I wanted to be a professional baseball player, we'd go play baseball. And same thing, tennis, go play tennis. And we'd play all of them in a day. We'd play everything. And I wanted to be a professional, and he never suggested that was a crazy idea. Okay, yeah, okay, we can go play. But he never made it seem like that was a crazy idea. And I was always like good around the neighborhood, playing with friends and stuff. I was always like one of the best. But when it came to like really like competing, I wasn't. um, and then by the time I was old enough to like really be able to play, I played as a kid. I guess I did well enough. I don't even remember, playing through like this. I don't know, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, 12. Like, then we played. I was even on like a wiffle ball team. That was pretty fun at the boys' club in Shelbyville. But my dad never made me think that being a professional athlete was out of my reach. And he never pushed it either. Like, oh, you're going to be a pro. It was just like, okay, well, let's go play. Okay. My dad, so he was born in 1950, and he started playing guitar when he was 12 or 13. And um, he played in bands in high school. He'd play like the high school dances and that kind of stuff. And he was in some bands after that. He was pretty good. He was a good guitar player, and he could really sing. He sounded a lot like Elvis without trying to sound like Elvis. He just did. And just super powerful singer. and and I got a guitar when I was for my 13th birthday. I told him that I wanted one, and we went and put a down payment on one. I think it was the next day. It was at Guitar Center in Greenwood, Indiana, or what was it called? Yeah, Guitar Center. I think. Yeah, and we get it. I think we picked it back up the next week and get it back. My dad lived in Fairland, Indiana at that time. It's real small, like country town, and real small. And um, it was an electric, this like pearl white, like it's kind of like a Stratocaster copy, Stratocaster style. It was a Lotus and a 15-watt crate amp, and he was playing, and then the neighbors came banging on the door. It'd been a while since he had a guitar. And the neighbors came banging on the door, and he said, "If you're going to play the blues, you got to play it so we can hear it." They acted like they were mad. And it turned out that the wife used to hang out with Stevie Ray Vaughan, and I think that might have been the first time I heard about Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't know I know my dad had his tapes, but I don't know if I ever really heard about him before. But the first day I got a guitar, I heard about Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then so the husband and wife next door, they invited us over to look at some pictures, and her partying with Stevie Ray, and then the husband, he was a drummer, and he had some video. He was showing us some old drumming videos. Pretty cool. And so my dad, he taught me. I did a show a little bit about it. It's called Heartbeat. It was an audio only version of this show. It's I don't remember what episode it is, but it's called Heartbeat. And my dad like showed me this like blues shuffle, dun 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 dun, that kind of stuff. And so I started playing that, and then he'd show me some different things. But I learned I don't know if my dad like mainly like played by ear or how he got to playing what all he could play. But I didn't like start off learning like scales and stuff. I started off like chords. I would just learn chords and then how to play these different songs. And I'd learn a chord shape. And then without even knowing that that's what other people did, I started like moving it around the neck, moving it up and down the neck. And so I'm 40 now, so I've had a guitar for 27 years, and I'm not playing my best ever or anything, but I made a vow to myself I'm going to play every day for a year. And I already played today. I played for quite a while yesterday. But I'm trying to go back and learn the right way. So I have this app. It's actually pretty cool. I do it on my computer called Yousician, Y-O-U, Yousician. And it's kind of like a game, sort of, but I mean, it has like real songs on it. But you play your real guitar, and you have a earphone in, and it hears you play. It tells you what to play, and it hears you. So if you miss a note, it tells you if you're a little early or a little late, and then you can play along to all these different songs and has all kinds of exercises, and it takes you through these levels. So I'm trying to go back and learn the right way. Like my music theory is pretty weak, and so I want to make that better. And I don't really like want to get out and be like playing gigs all over the place or anything, but maybe there'll be some situations where I do get out and play and sing. And like I got this other app. I was like, okay, I need to like understand um, scales better, and I need to understand theory better and what's really going on. I got this app that's like recognizing scales, and so I was recognizing them, like majors and minors, and I got for what I played, I got all of them right except for one, and I kind of like surprised myself. So it's like I recognize stuff. I can play some classical stuff and some flamenco, and I can play some kind of cool stuff. It's like I also like don't know what I'm doing, and so I'm trying to like really learn the right way, and I think I'm going to take some singing lessons, and that's kind of. I mean, my dad he could like really sing. I was watching today. I was kind of like just I was going to learn this Mazzy Star song, and there happened to be like some of the stuff that pops up is these, vocal coach analyzes this or that, and one of them was Chris Cornell's "Nothing Compares to You," and of course it's a Sinead O'Connor song that he covered, and so this vocal coach, she's an opera singer, and so she starts off listening to it, and she's like, "Oh wow," and she's listening to it, she's like, "Oh, right away," she's like, "This is my new favorite uh, version of the song." And then she's like breaking down his technique, and she's like saying what he's doing. Like she's saying he's like straining in a way that she wouldn't recommend. She says, she loves the voice. She's not, but as a coach, this isn't how she would coach people because this isn't good for the long term. But she's asking, like, if somebody else is a rock singer coach and you can tell me what he's doing, then I want to know. I'm curious. And she's like, this is my favorite. I'm not saying I don't love it, but, and then there was like a lot of, like his air control. She was talking about that. And I played, there was like about 20 minutes of songs. I played original songs, and it's like, I put it out. It was called like a few original songs or acoustic, me and acoustic guitar, a few original songs, like several episodes ago. And a buddy of mine heard it, and he said the same thing about me. Is like my air, like, and he's like, well, once you start getting singing lessons, they'll tell you. Like, cool. So I do want to get good at it. I do want to get better. And it was like, I'm not comparing myself to like Chris Cornell, but just in theory, is there maybe a reason to not get lessons? Like if you have some voice, like does Bob Dylan need singing lessons? I do not think he's a good singer, and I don't know that singing lessons would make him better. Or Neil Young. I like the way he sings a lot, and I don't know that I'd want him to like start singing like Mariah Carey or something like that, who I would say is a way better singer, but I don't. I want to listen to Neil Young, not Mariah Carey. You know what I mean? So is there a point where like the guitar player, he just starts to sound like his guitar, and that this is the sound that they make, the singer and the guitar together, and maybe you don't want to mess with that. Maybe you just want to get better at that and just become more yourself. I don't know. You know what I mean? Am I making sense here? So even though my dad got me playing, there would be times we would pass the guitar back and forth, and Now, I remember him singing to me when I was a little kid. He wrote a song about me and it had like my teddy bear in it and stuff. And I just remember just a tiny little bit of it. I have a bunch of stuff that he wrote. I hope to like maybe stumble across that sometime. But remember, I was starting to get probably at my prime of playing, where I was really getting devoted to playing this classical stuff. And he called me, and I think he was at a bar, and he must have been talking about playing because he'd sing and like playing some bands like off and on. I'm not sure how much he even was doing, but I remember him calling me one time. It sounded like he'd been drinking a bit. I'm not judging that. I'm not saying it was a bad any bad thing. He was like, "So, just how good are you?" And he was talking about like maybe getting together to play at places, and mm, it's almost like us playing together got too powerful or something. Uh, that's something I wish I could go back and change is that and to record him on some good equipment because I have recordings of him, but it was recorded like on some $20 Walmart boombox tape recorder hit play and record at the same time. He's playing some $100 guitar he got at a pawn shop and a $50 amp he got at a pawn shop, and um, he made him sound great. I mean, it sounded really good, and he's playing an acoustic guitar through an electric guitar amp, which isn't it works, but um, it would just been cool to get some proper equipment in his hands and record him how it deserved to be recorded. So a lot of times most parents, we want our kids to do better than us, right? And I wonder, like, I don't really feel like making a run at the NBA. Like, it's been a long time since I played basketball, and I'm pretty sure nobody's missing me as a basketball player. I mean, I think I did score a couple points in fifth grade on the team, but it might have been the highlight of my basketball career. Then we play at the boys' club and stuff. And it's like I said, I was okay until it got to be like super competitive and like the guys that are like real good. But anyways, this guitar thing, singing thing is not that I'm trying to make it huge, but it's definitely something I can polish up and you know maybe people will like it. And it's almost like I owe it to I don't know if I owe it to my dad or owe it to. I don't think I owe it to anybody, but um, but people like it. When I was playing in front of friends and stuff, 20 years ago, people liked it. And people like you don't have, like I was talking about Neil Young. I don't think he's a good singer. Oh, but I like the way I like his voice. I don't think he's a great guitar player. I like the way he plays guitar. Not everybody has to. It's just as honest. It's him. It's like a real expression of himself, and he gets out of it what he wants. You know. So there's a lot of really influential musicians that really aren't that great technically. Kurt Cobain, uh, not a good guitar player, but dude could write some catchy stuff, right? They were the biggest thing in the world for a while. So imagine if he just said, "Oh, I'm not even going to bother. Jimi Hendrix was so much better. There's no reason for me to strum a few chords. Why would anybody want to listen to Kurt Cobain when they could listen to Jimi Hendrix?" Well, turns out a bazillion people do want to listen to him and Jimi Hendrix. You know. So I'm getting at what I'm saying is I'm not just like talking about me. I'm talking about you. Okay. So pretty much any time I'm talking on the show, there's layers of this stuff. So I'm not just reflecting on my own life and my dad, and I'm reflecting. The idea is for you to reflect your dad, your life. What are what are you neglecting that isn't like fair to yourself? Is there maybe you're a good painter and you just don't have the time. You get home and you cook for the kids and then you clean, and by the time you work and cook and clean and work more, by the time kids go to sleep, you're exhausted and you just turn on the TV, fall asleep watching something, and wake up 6 hours later to do it all again. Well, I find if you just get started. So I made this vow, and now I'm like sending out this social contract that I'm going to play guitar every day for a year. It'll be easy for me to remember the day. I actually started yesterday. I don't know if I played the day before. It might have been a day or two that I hadn't played before then. Maybe I don't remember. I do know that I played yesterday, but today is the day I can remember easily. I'm going to play every day for a year. And I'm going to do it in a constructive method. So in a year, my music theory is going to be better. My self-expression is going to be better. Because there's some guitar players, I think Johnny Lang is probably the best example. There's some other ones too, but I think he is so rare in that he can sing at full throttle. You can't ask him to squeeze out any more passion into his songs. He's awesome technically, emotionally. It's full throttle, trying as hard as he can, and it sounds awesome. Same thing with his guitar playing. Now it usually happens in one or the other. Maybe they can fully express themselves on the guitar, but their singing isn't that great. Or they can sing really great, but they can't do much more than strum a few chords. So it's a matter of, what was I getting to? But anyways, I plan to make quite a bit of progress. So I don't think I'm even at my prime, but I can almost feel it like coming back. And then be able to go forward, deeper understanding. So I talk about like this black cloud over some people's heads. Sometimes, do you believe in karma? Do you know what karma is? What is your opinion on what karma is? It's like, oh, well, what goes around comes around. Does it though? Maybe. Kind of. Depends. Or eventually, or whatever. But there's that concept. What goes around comes around. And then, but I think a more, or then you talk about like inheriting like karma in past lives. And because sometimes, I have a lot of really cool things happening, but sometimes it seems like I might have a little black cloud following me around too. It's like, maybe everybody does to some degrees, but there's something. Sometimes it's, I have so many cool things going on, so I'm not trying to say, oh, poor me, I have it so rough. But there's some stuff like this insane streak of car problems. It's like I can't get one thing fixed without something else going wrong too that I have to address. And then before I can get to the whatever that priority is, something else happens. It's insane. I mean, like I was talking about I'm not going to rattle on about problems, but I'm kind of like getting to a point. So I know you have a lot of problems too. So I'm not just telling my story. I'm telling your story and the story of other people. Maybe this is somebody that Like I was talking about Kevin, the son who they would never bring him the right meal. He's had brain surgeries and he's had these like all kinds he just had nothing goes right for him. But his sisters, it's kind of like skate through life, and this life thing is pretty easy. What's the, why does everybody make it look so hard? For them, it's easy. And this is their mom telling me about it. This isn't my opinion from somebody that doesn't understand. I'm talking about the mom who sees it happening. Like, why is Kevin always getting screwed? It's like my streak of car problems just been ridiculous. But I mean, it's like beyond chance. It's beyond it's just so weird. And then like my heater quits working, and but I think, knock on wood, that I fixed this like starting issue that it had, and the mechanic could figure it out. And but like sometimes I'd go to start my car, and nothing would happen, no click, no nothing. And when it happened the first time, I had it jumped, but it seemed like, but it didn't work right away. And then it did. I was like, yeah, I don't know if that was a problem or not. And, because it didn't seem like my battery should have been dead, but to get the battery tested, that said bad battery. And then I stopped at the grocery store, and then I stopped at the gas station, and then it didn't start leaving the gas station. I'm stuck at the gas station for like 20 minutes trying to figure it out, and I finally figured it out. And sometimes it'd start for a while, sometimes it wouldn't. I get a starter for it, and then instead of doing it myself, which I probably should have, I had to pay the mechanic to do it. And I told him I think it might have been a connection, really, and not even the starter. But he's like, nope, all the connections were fine. It must have been the starter. And then so I go to pick it up, and it wouldn't even start at the mechanic's place. So I can't even tell you how many times I went to pick my car up from the mechanic and then had to leave it there. And I'm not talking about over the past, like, oh, since I was driving at 16. I'm talking just in the past few months, how many times that's happened. It's like this, black cloud. But I have a lot of really cool things happening too. But and then and then now the heater's not working. You have to pump the gas just a tiny bit at a time because it keeps shutting off. The evac canister is probably full of water or something. It's just like one thing after another. But and then I have a Jeep Cherokee also. You get the catalytic converter stolen. You need to replace the radiator, and then for some reason the brake lights won't come on. I replace the bulbs, I get a new brake light switch, checking all the fuses, and I don't. It's crazy. It's all crazy about a bunch of stuff. So I'm just trying to like vent about these problems. So I know that you can rattle off a long list of problems too, probably. Or if you're like wondering what I'm talking about, maybe you're just one of the people that's kind of skating through life pretty easily, and hey, good for you. If so, like Kevin's sisters, they don't seem to have any problems. He has them all. But what I was getting to is like some kind of like karmic thing. A lot of times my dad like taught me how to work on cars, and sometimes he would just kind of like tell me what to do, and then I would do it, and that's a pretty good method of teaching somebody. And so it's almost like and so like sometimes when I take it somewhere and I pay too much to have somebody do something like $90 to put a starter on, I could have done it myself. It's not that big of a deal, but I wonder if like it's like karmic debt or something like that from a past life, and it's like car issues. It's like it reminds me of my dad. There was a time I was working it was for that place that I was saying I got fired from the day after his funeral. I was coming back. I was selling lawn care at the time. This was between like 2001 and 2005, and my alternator locked up, and so I was able to get back to get back to work, I had to go in and work. And so I called my dad and I told him that my alternator walked up, and he went and got me an alternator and came and put it in for me while I was working. That was pretty cool. And at first it was like parked out in the sun. It was like 10 million degrees outside. And so we pushed it into the shade. I remember there was like a little bit of shade where the sun was just far enough into the west to create a little shadow on the east side of the building. So pushed it into the shade. Then he changed up my alternator for me while I was in there. So maybe when these people like Kevin's sisters are skating through life, they don't really seem to have anything wrong happen. Are they equipped to then deal with problems? Because now I feel pretty equipped to deal with problems. Like I guess you get used to it after a while. And I know everybody has them, and plenty of people have. Probably, I would say most people have problems worse than me. I would say I'm definitely in the upper percentile of things working out pretty well. But there's some stuff. You see, it's a car issue. So my car started leaking coolant. I got fired from my job on a Thursday. This is just a couple months ago. And I got a new job the next morning. And when I went in for my interview, my buddy, put the word in for me to get the job there. And my car started leaking coolant in the parking lot of my interview. And then so I went to do my drug test afterwards, and then I just took it to Midas. I was like I had so many things going on, from getting fired to getting hired and business stuff. I had recently opened my own gym, and the pressures of that and things changing around. I was really feeling a lot of pressure, so I couldn't even think. I didn't even pop my hood to see why the coolant was leaking. I just took it to Firestone, and then they showed me. They said it was this part's $1,400, but it was just like this little hole in the throttle body where the coolant goes around the throttle body for some reason on those. And I ended up fixing it myself with this fusing stuff, like basically a really good super glue. I just scooted the hose up some, but if you don't know to think like that, then maybe you would have paid $1,400 plus a couple $100 for them to put this new part on. So instead of paying $1,600, paid $3 for the super glue. Problem solved. Several problems have popped up since then. Anyways, I remember reading in this David Icke book, or maybe it was a video I was watching of his. It was like, if you pick the spiritual path, you better watch out, because you're gonna get it. And so as we're walking this path, are you gonna be someone that steals somebody's catalytic converter? Are you gonna be a thief? Are you gonna be a bad guy? Or are you just gonna keep pushing, do the right thing over and over. That'll end up making you who you are. You're either going to develop strong character or not. And then how people see us influences them a lot. I think we influence people a lot. I know I'm influenced by my friends. I'm inspired by my friends. I have awesome friends. I have such a cool bunch of friends that it's crazy. They're a lot of them are teachers of various sorts, like different kinds of like strength and fitness and martial arts and all kinds of really cool stuff. And even if they don't like teach that kind of stuff, they're into something cool, like spiritual. They're they're spiritually gifted, I would say. I would say most of my friends are teachers of some sort and learners. They learn and they teach. They learn and they teach. They learn and they teach. And there's these, when I was teaching these classes, kids classes, there was a guitar at White Pine, which we developing another program for this starting in spring with a couple of my awesome friends. But I was teaching like strength class and do like kettlebells and tree climbing and rock lifting and log carries and all wrestling games and all kinds of fun stuff. And then there was a guitar there. Um, and like one of the teachers there, she's a really good singer and musician. She has a band. Her name's Sarah, and she teaches this there. And so she plays guitar and sings for the kids and stuff. And this guitar is there, and a couple of these kids, they be messing around with this. So I showed them a little something on guitar, and that little something I showed them was the first thing my dad showed me, a blues shuffle. And so these kids, they were like 13 and 10 at the time. Uh, they liked the way it sounded. It's a cool sound, right? But it's the blues. But the blues is a healer. Thanks for tuning in.